I'm a generational educator.
Okay.
I always knew I was going to teach at 3 years old, literally lining up the dolls. My mom was a teacher at the time, and she was on curriculum things, reviewing textbooks.
The exposure that I was closest to were teachers. More specifically for me, I really loved the human beings that my English teachers were.
Okay.
I come from a family of educators. However, my mother used to tell me I used to be teaching my dollies. Barbie was my girl. She was even had to be in class. Like everybody gonna learn today.
We are so honored to have 3 distinguished guests in our studio today. Our first is PhD candidate Dionne Kirby, a passionate and transformative education leader dedicated to advancing equity. Fluent in Spanish and grounded in English education, she uniquely blends extensive classroom teaching experience with deep nonprofit leadership. Dionne's impactful career includes 6 years as a teacher and vital support for school leaders in Dallas ISD. She currently serves as the Mrs. Oreen Levy Wolf Executive Director at Lumen Education, spearheading significant programs. Her journey also includes roles as CEO of Literacy Achieves and Executive Director of the Dallas Dinner Table, alongside contributions to arts and education initiatives in Washington, D.C. Dionne holds degrees from Lincoln and Tiffin Universities and is currently pursuing her PhD in Global Leadership and Change, further solidifying her commitment to driving strategic process. Our next guest, Dr. Onjaleke Brown, is a lifelong educator and transformative leader with deep Dallas roots. Her academic journey includes degrees from UT Austin, Texas Women's University, my school, and UT Arlington, culminating in a PhD in educational leadership from the University of North Texas. Dr. Brown's impactful career in Dallas ISD spanned all school levels, notably leading the successful reimagining and reopening of N.W. Harley as an early childhood center. Currently, she serves as superintendent and principal of St. Anthony, an international baccalaureate campus in Dallas, where she champions academic excellence, social, emotional learning, and robust community connections. And last but not least, Dr. Kimberly C. Riddick is a visionary leader with over 15 years of experience driving excellence in education, student success, and STEM. She holds a PhD in nanoengineering from NC-A&T and an MBA from Elon University. As the Director of Student Leadership and Success at UNT Dallas, Dr. Riddick spearheads transformative student programs, notably launching the impactful McNair Scholars Program, which I'm a beneficiary of too. Her commitment to equity and opportunity extends to her role on the board of Big Thought, where she champions mentorship and vital pathways for first-generation students in higher education and STEM fields. Welcome, y'all.
Thank you.
Amazing, ladies.
Yes.
Amazing.
Great company.
Panel of excellence. It's a panel of excellence.
Right.
Good panel.
All right. So our initial question is, let's see, how did y'all get into education? What sparked your love and gift for being in the educational space?
And high passion and drive.
Yeah.
Y'all
You
got
gotta
all
have
that
it.
going on.
Part of this I address in the dissertation that I'm writing, which is African American nonprofit leaders in the South.
Okay.
And how we come to the roles that we come to, because I believe that some of the barriers that were more prevalent in the Southern United States impacted the decisions we made, the roles we went into. So, for example, when I look at my family, there was a lot of roles in servitude working in the house for people, all of that kind of thing. So the exposure that I was closest to were teachers. More specifically for me, I really loved the human beings that my English teachers were.
Okay.
I developed a really strong bond with a couple of my English teachers, and it wasn't just their role and their job, but it was who they were as people, like their ability to admit mistakes, to be humble, to talk about things that they're working on, things that they were willing to be open with me about and open my eyes to. And so that was one of my first attractions. And as a young person, I was asked to lead young people when I was still a young person. So, some things just happened to me based on what people saw. But a lot of it, it was a combination of the two.
So you were called to leadership at an early age.
That would be very true.
And,
yes.
and that was a part of your grooming, because your teachers bonding with them kind of pointed you in the direction of teaching.
Yes.
That's impactful.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. See, that's kind of stuff melts my butter.
Not melts your butter.
Yeah, melts my butter.
The shoulders, the butter.
I love that.
So I'm a generational educator.
Okay.
I always knew I was going to teach at 3 years old, literally lining up the dolls. My mom was a teacher at the time, and she was on curriculum things, reviewing textbooks. So it was a TE there, and I would get that TE and those dolls, and I had chalkboards. I actually had a business executive briefcase.
Okay.
It had a telephone in it and a little chalkboard.
We're not going to say what year that was.
I'm not going to say, but it's your business. But I actually still have the briefcase because my kids, all the little cousins still play with it. It was industrial strength, I guess.
Yeah.
But I knew I would have that, and I'd have my stuff. I knew I was going to teach. If you look in my high school yearbook, it says I'm going to be a teacher. This is what I'm going to do. I was not planning to lead, but it was a natural part of who I was. Very similar at 5th grade. I think we were having, and if you're from Texas, you'll know we took the TOS test.
Yes, we
did.
did.
Introduced.
Yes, we did.
And so 3rd graders, I was listening. I was always listening to the principals, what principals were saying. And the principals were saying the 3rd graders didn't do good. And so I took a poster board and said how I could tutor after school with 3rd graders and did a presentation. They teased, but I always was watching what principals did. And so when I got into starting teaching, it was very natural. People saying, you're going to be a principal. No, who want to do that job? That's a horrible job. Do you want to lead in schools? No, those people don't get to have any fun. And then I learned a little bit better that I could control and organize things and shape it the way I wanted to, the higher that I got. My classroom was utopia. And so then it was like, well, how do I get a whole school of utopia? How do I get a whole district of utopia? And so that's how I started wanting to do. But it was very much that my mom, my brother is a principal. My mom was director of reading language arts in Dallas. Aunts, instructional coaches, SPED director. All of my cousins teach. Everybody. So it's a family. Family
affair.
And you're from Dallas, right?
From
what
Dallas.
high school?
I went to Kimball High School. I went to Longfellow Middle School. I went to Daniel Webster Elementary School, and I went to Jimmy Tyler Brashear for early childhood. So I started at 3 years old in Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is social emotional learning?
It really means being aware, aware of how you're feeling and how others are feeling. It's teaching that empathy. It's teaching kids it used to be really taught when we had centers, we had children that had playtime, they had time to interact with each other. But the more we started doing school and not teaching children, we lost that. And so now, really, it is taking the time to teach children if somebody drops something, pick it up.
Yeah.
If they get out of line, you don't have to move in front of them to get their spot back. You don't have to call your spot back. You let that person have their spot back. It's teaching them those soft skills that aren't necessarily in a textbook, but will catapult them to another level if they learn them. And it's really about being a community.
So it's really like emotional intelligence.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. EQ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being a good human.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
that's what it is.
Character.
Yes.
counts still.
Important.
At the end of the day.
Yes.
At the end
Though
of the
other
day.
people will have us believe otherwise.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, but it matters.
It does. So for me, much like you, Dr. Brown, I come from a family of educators. However, my mother used to tell me, I used to be teaching my dollies. Barbie was my girl. She was even had to be in class. Like everybody gonna learn today. But my mom, she was very, I think, burnt out from some of her experience, and she was like, "No, girl, you're not gonna be a teacher. Like you have other skills and gifts to offer. Like they don't get paid enough. They're not respected enough. I don't want you to be a teacher." And despite that, here I am. And so for me, early in my educational progression, I was labeled as like gifted in science and math and stuff. And then STEM, back then, STEM was like bubbling up as a word. And me being a black girl, excelling in STEM, I had a lot of opportunities. I went to Johns Hopkins. I did a lot of a variety of things that really inspired my love for STEM, which ended up inspiring my love for inspiring other students to engage in STEM, especially with my identities and how that shows up. So, through that experience, I learned a lot of technical skills. I was often the only in a lot of the rooms and places that I was. And though it prepared me a lot technically, when I started working in industry, my undergrad is in chemical engineering. And I started working for a pharmaceutical company. And I was the first black woman at 22 years old. I was the first black woman in my department. I lived in a city where the percentage of black, and not that only black people are the only people I could relate to, because I had already done a lot of experiences where I was the only. But I didn't even consider things about, like, when I moved there, where am I getting my hair done?
Right.
Where am I going to church?
Right.
Where am I buying my groceries? Where am I getting the things that are common, that I enjoy, right? That identify even with culturally. And as I started working, I did a lot of campus recruiting, and that gave me the opportunity to connect, right? Connect back with students and stuff. And I think that's when the light came on for me about how I could share my experience and help other scholars that are going these places think about not just the technical aspect of it. You have a whole life outside of your work life to live, and what are you doing to support that, encourage that, and that type of thing. And that's how I got back into academia. That's when I made the decision that I was going to leave. Even my workplace was very toxic for me. Like I said, I was a first, a lot of things. I worked with a lot of older white men. So back then, words like workplace bullying and microaggressions, none of that was even vocabulary. Forget therapy, and therapy being readily embraced. Even FaceTime, I was living in the Midwest and my family's on the East Coast. So even having that support system I was used to having, a lot of things came up inside of me as a person that I wanted to be able to help now, especially young women who look like me, who identify similarly. It became very important to me to be able to help them navigate that. And so that's how I ended up getting back into academia. Excellent. I bless y'all who can work with the students K through 12. It's just not my ministry.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay. We need you there. We need you there.
And that's why I found my home. And that's how I really got engaged. Being able to help bring some of that life experience part to the education was where I found my niche, especially with high achieving, historically excluded or marginalized communities is where I found I excel, and I wanted to bring that to them.
Love it.
So I have a question for you ladies, because y'all like a variation of Hidden Figures. And I mean that in the highest compliment that I can give. And having said that, what I want to ask you ladies, because I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the landscape, but education in America is being challenged at the highest levels. In fact, the Trump administration, let me correct, President Trump administration has targeted the U.S. Department of Education to nullify it and turn education back to the states. Where are you, ladies? What are your opinions about that as a bold move?
It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it is.
I think the biggest thing for me is that when you start turning over to the state, we lose some of that accountability. It's already a lack of consistency, resources, especially for students that are already in situations where they are classified as being in a lesser socioeconomic status. That's a really big divide. And not having the supports and not having the mandate and the follow-up. We struggle even with it now, or in previous administrations, with making sure that's facilitated, or the support that students need is facilitated, and taking some of those accountability measures out of the equation allows, I think, a greater divide in what students experience as an education, and what they really get, especially in the public school systems, and what that means for them. It really continues to divide and segregate, and especially class-wise. I think we recognize the systemic racial factor of it, but class is really the great divide.
Yeah.
And
Classism.
Classism, right?
Classism.
It is. And this is where we see our students really suffering. And whether some of our Caucasian counterparts acknowledge it or not, their students are as well.
Struggling.
Because you're under that socioeconomic divide, and you're not getting the resources that could be available to you because you're inadvertently voting against yourself.
Yeah.
I'll let you ladies finish, because this is about to get heated, I can tell. Go ahead.
From the K-12 perspective, returning things back to the state, it depends on your state. You know, if you have a state, I mean,
we're in the South.
We're in the South, and we're in a state right now that is saying, you know, you have a little more choice in what you want to do, and they want to believe in choice right now. The choices that they want us to make. They want to say, you get to make choice and you get to do these things. So right now, you know, if it returns to the state of Texas, you know, your superintendents, every district gets to make decisions. You get to do that. So it doesn't, but every state is not here. And if I could go to another state that had where they had more advanced technology and they did all these things. So it really, and that should not be for public education. It should be that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, no matter my zip code, that it depends on the leader in place. So, you know, there. But when you move on up, you know, what the Department of Ed did, the things that it regulated, the accountability, the student loans. You know, we're getting ready to move into an era where children and the higher education, the access to it is not going to be there. The affordability of it, Pell Grants, all those things come through the Department of Ed. And so when we dismantle that, who is going to make sure that these students have access to that and that landscape? Nobody's going to do it. We are actually and effectively creating a second class of citizen.
If you like what you've heard, please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, Dr. Brown, calm down.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on this dismantling. And then our director of ed, I mean, she called, what did she say AI was?
McMahon?
Yeah, McMahon.
I like to call names.
McMahon, she said AI was
the wrestling queen.
Yeah, the wrestling queen. She didn't even know what AI was when asked. And if you go and I watch the testimonies and the hearings, I'll get back to you with that. I'll get back to you on that. They asked her who Ruby Bridges was. Her response, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. We're there. There's nothing that we can't do. We're there. So then that means that we have to do some teaching and some educating and some things through nonprofit work, through our schools, through this choice that we're going to get to create our own curriculums. We're going to have to do that writing, and we're going to have to do that to ensure that our students know who they are.
Now let me ask you ladies this. Sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, you go. I talk, man.
Okay. She got no choice. I was like, now that's a whole conversation. That's a whole one by itself. Yeah.
Now, ladies, we got that out. We set the proper tone. I do believe we set the proper tone, and now I see the passion for inclusivity.
Yes.
In education. Tell us your opinion.
I agree with what you've mentioned. I'll mention Raj Chetty. He's an economics professor at Harvard University.
Okay.
And a lot of his research speaks to the benefits of all children of all socioeconomic levels being there together, and the benefits there for everyone, that exposure. And so his research uses data. He leads opportunity insights and all of this data that really drives what uplift looks like for everybody. And so it really is the village concept, knowing that it takes a village and all the different people of the village. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that. That the information is there to support what it means to help everyone.
And I want to march us back just a little bit to my mother made her transition in 2018. And obviously, since that time period, things have progressed. Time is, as the old people would say, it's sped up. Has it sped up to bring us back to a knowledge of self-realization in education? In other words, are we moving, doctors, to a period of time where we're going back to the one-room class school where we had all the grades in there and you had the head lady that did education, and we on average were graduating kids 14, 15 years old, send them off to Morehouse and Spelman and these kinds of colleges. Is it almost seems to me it's a hydra in that our kids learn at different levels, different rates, and we're able to recognize things that they're good at. My mom used to talk about this all the time, and she would say, every kid ain't college material. What we used to be good at was knowing who's who, because we had our hands on the pulse of what our communities were doing, what our children were good at. She went to school, she went to graduate Catholic school. She said there was a young man in her class that liked to cuss. And every time they got ready to say the rosary, he would say, "Hail Mary."
Being very creative.
So the teachers knew how to deal with that student, and they didn't send them out the classroom and do all of those things. So are we hearkening back to a time where we're going to have to recognize that the way this thing is being structured high up, and we're going to have to come to the realization that we're going to have to do some inward focus in education. And I'll take your...
Well, let me add to that. So you brought up Ruby Bridges. So Brown versus Board of Education was 1954. We didn't even get the Department of Education until 1980. So all of us were students after that. But what did it look like for our communities prior to? And I think that's the conversation that we're talking about. Right. Yeah.
Because certainly a lot of our parents, poor parents, and greats and them didn't have the benefit of public education to that level. Right. But they own businesses. They could tell you everything, and the knowledge base was so strong. And if I'm going to be the devil's advocate, I would say that some of what's been done, a great amount of it, has strangled us into being automatons and moving in a direction of education and not taking on the whole of what education should be about. Now, come on, I ain't gonna pass around the collection plate.
I don't disagree with you on that. And if you go back and you really look, when schools were desegregated, the way that desegregation happened, you had African American teachers at your schools, and you had your white teachers at the schools.
That could whoop your butt.
They could whoop your butt and do all that. But when they integrated, they wanted some teachers to go over here and some teachers to go over there. Well, in our community, we sent our best. Mm-hmm. We sent our best teachers. We sent the ones that were top, because we were going to go over, and we were not going to. Y'all not going to show out. We're not going to embarrass. We're going to show out in the community. Mm-hmm. They sent their worst. And they began educating our children. Mm-hmm. And they began coming into our classrooms. And that is who taught our children for a long period of time in our classrooms. So like you said, we had a pulse. We knew our kids. We knew our neighbors. Yeah. You saw them. Your Sunday school teacher was your first grade teacher. We knew together. We walked together. We took care of each other. And so there was a different type of learning that took place that I think was better for us. It didn't matter that our books were secondhand, because a lot of our history and things that we taught were oral.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of it was mental learning, mental math, we learned science through life. That's where we got these things. And so when we moved to, we need the textbooks and stuff like that, I think we did a disservice. So I think we do need to do what you're saying and take a couple of steps back and move back into that. I think our students would benefit from it. I think we were better, our discipline, our attentiveness, and I think our teachers poured a little bit of themselves out.
And our connectedness as well.
Yes.
The garage door opener changed that. I'm convinced that, because the elders used to sit out on the front porches and stuff, and they ran the community from up there on that porch.
That's true.
And then we got clever, and they said, give us a garage door button. And now when people come home, they drive in the garage, close their garage down, and you don't even see them.
Wow.
You don't see people out in the community. Kids don't play in the streets no more. And it's anyway, let's move back to what we were talking about, because this might be a 2-part process. We might have to do 2 of these to get it all out.
I agree with both of y'all. Even from my mother's perspective, she was the first integrator student when she was in school. And even from that perspective as well, I agree. We lost a lot of the community, the SEL, even the... Right. That how a teacher, there was a level of comfort from Black teacher to Black student, my community to my community, my likeness to my like, right? And there was comfort even with your child maybe not being on the same pace as other students in the class. Yeah. The teacher cared that you were not on pace. Rather than pass you over, I'm going to take some time, even if that's after school, to work with you. So that some of that level of care did dissipate once we integrated, right? And so I could see that even with the catch to that, though, is the inequity of some of the materials, the technology, what schools might receive with the power or the lack of accountability coming out of the system, or having to be accountable to something greater than your district or your governor or whomever, right? And so I think that's the linchpin, right? Because if we are in the classroom, like you said, there were students graduating at 14 going off to college. And that still can happen now, right? But in the classroom, there are certain metrics that have to be kept up with. We have to take certain standardized testing, and I'm not saying those things should go away, but there are tools also now. I can put you on Khan Academy and let you move at the rate that you're in this class, but I'm holding you back because the people we're doing work that you've already mastered. And so if we have access to the opportunities and the materials and the tools, the technology is shared in a way that we can keep the equity in the system, that's important. But I feel my fear is that removing the accountability allows sometimes the worst in people to act, and more so than all of us rising. There is a ugly beast inside sometimes that rather than all of us rise, I'm gonna keep you down so that I can rise higher, faster, and more.
Is that our fault though, that we have gotten complacent where we all of us talk about education all the time in our circles and we see what's going on and we see the result of how the system has changed its education focus, and that we're quite honestly just not graduating students, and students have really lost interest in the formal education structure that's out here right now. Full disclosure, I taught for almost 20 years at one of the local colleges. And I say, watching the light go dim is a very real thing with education, because I've said for the past few years, I was like, we don't really have a direction with education in the United States. When we look at our directive to teach young people, the way that we've done it consistently for all of the years is to some degree antiquated.
It is.
And if you want to spark these new generations going forward, there are so many nuances that we have to consider in the way they learn.
Right.
So are the robots gonna take up the place of all of the functions and allow us to be free to do things that don't have to have all of the challenges of knowing
of thinking
things?
Robots will never replace thinking. You have to teach a robot to think. Somebody is teaching technology. Somebody is working technology. Somebody is doing technology all the time. There is a person behind that. There are people, teams behind that. It does change the nature of the work that other people get to do. I'm not like people talk about AI. Teach our students how to ethically use it, right? Even for me, I call her my assistant. Chad, I need X, Y, and Z done today. Like it lightens the load of some of the grunt work that I have to do, but it does not alleviate the fact that I have to think. They can put out, I mean, even when we think about a person is programming or creating that algorithm, right? And so they bring all their biases, their lack of knowledge, all the things that they think into that equation. So if I'm just going to take what they spit back out at me as fact, and I don't critically assess what that is, does that align with what I want to say? Is that even a fact? What are the sources associated with that? People still have to think. Period.
So
y'all
do we have
wait a minute, hold on. Listen to the doctor with a degree in nano.
Yes, I know what she just said. She just hit it. I want to snap, clap.
Right. How do all of that?
Yes.
Come on, HBCU.
Okay,
I was, and she talked about the bias in AI because the people behind the programming put their biases in. When you wash your hands, you have to turn it up for the water to come on.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's not hitting our color skin, because when they did the AI and the programming, it wasn't there. That's why you got to turn your hands up and everybody else got their hands up.
Right.
But it's the bias that's built in. And that's why we have to, as educators, make sure we're putting this kind of stuff in front of our students. Yeah, I love paper. But we got, like you said,
I have to reach them where they are, right? We have to work. We have to work all the systems, even the lived experience that our students are managing through, right? Even though we have similar identities, that does not mean that we are experiencing the same thing. We're learning the same things. We're doing the same things. My neighbor next door can be living a totally different life, even though we're in the same socioeconomic class and what that supposedly means, right? And so we have to be aware. And if there's not somebody in the position to be aware and to act out of that space of awareness, then disparity naturally is going to manifest.
Wow. Yep.
It's I don't see a way around it. And then there are no accountability systems to say what you are doing is putting certain students at an advantage and certain students at a disadvantage.
So still at the end of the day, there's still going to be disadvantages to education if we don't spearhead the movement to be included. If I don't look out for
my best interest, who is?
And I'm going to give y'all something simple for AI. When they send you a thumbs up, you have to type in, send me a brown thumbs up. And a lot of times they're going to send you a black one. And I'm like, that's not quite my color. Send me a brown.
Yeah.
You have to like be very specific because the algorithm isn't set for us.
It's like, I don't know if y'all were fans of Lemony Snicket.
Yes.
And the teacher on there and how she was like, she could feel when she was reading something a student wrote and it was messed up. She could actually feel it, like the refrigerator was actually falling from the page. In her mind, this was a real event that happened. So I used to have these papers, and man, old school, we used to just mark them up. And then the generations change, and for you to put red marks all over a paper, it's like, that's a no-no. Don't do that.
Highly offensive. Yes.
But what color do you use today?
Because ultimately, that's
Paper.
Yeah.
Paper. Pens.
What we talk about? But even if you get it virtually, you don't use the red thing on the...
It's the digital, but
I use comments on the side.
I'm a paper person.
You're a paper person.
I'm a paper
You from
person.
that
But the
I'm from that school.
Yeah.
Well, at least in my realm.
I think kids need paper.
Okay.
I do too.
It is.
Even books I
We're
read.
doing a disservice by saying everything technology of this, and this is coming from. I told medical glass out. I'm tech person, but we need paper. We need to write. They need that. They need to carry. They need to regroup, carry, bring that one over to the side. They need to see that. And not on a screen. They need to actually go through the motions. There's
Connect
something
with
about there's something about the gross motor and the fine motor skills moving here to connect into the brain
spiritual.
that is and we have lost that, and that is part of the reason why kids are not as engaged and going across. And I'm not talking, I don't allow teachers to do writing for punishment. I think that is like the worst thing to ever do. Tell kids they have to write. I'm talking about moving and using the writing to further their thought. Just, if you have a kid who's talking all the time in class, tell them to write their question down. Just every time you think, just write your questions down and I'll come to you in a minute. They're going and they're writing. Okay, let me answer it. And that instantly will stop a behavior problem right there. But we don't write, don't move. And kids are doing this. Third graders are having to write their essays on the computer.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Well, we talk about this connection too. So there's a connection to that wooden pencil and the paper that connects back to the earth, grounding. And there's something you lose when you connect to electronics, electricity.
To Elon Musk.
Hey.
Now we ain't go there.
So electricity, we're talking about this, but that disconnection from devices, right? We need that. We need that separation. We need to go and put our toes and feet in the grass.
That's grounding.
And actually touch a tree. Like those things are necessary. So like you, Dr. Brown, I like my paper. Anybody who's worked for me, some people might be in the room, but I love paper. I love paper. I'm working on my love of paper because sometimes I don't need paper for everything, but it is a part of it. And it's, I love it because that's the way I learn and that's the way I connect it. And I imagine that's a part of your story too. And so I think we do have to give children both and they need the exposure, right?
Yeah.
But I think
not get it.
I don't know if you were thinking what I was thinking, Dr. Riddick, but what I was thinking about, like in teaching and even in higher ed, the systems have changed. What you're expected to use is different. And so, yes.
How do you ladies then transform education for the future? With the knowledge base that you obviously have, how do you realistically see and feel the energy of education changing? What is your commitment to how it's going to be reshaped? Because it's not if.
Oh, yeah.
When it's a real thing. And then this question. How do we engage our Black boys in this new movement that's taking place in education? Because I don't know if y'all noticed this, but girls tend to be okay. So how do we engage our boys as we move forward in this treacherous, delicate day of education.
Delicate. I like that. I like delicate.
Yeah.
Be delicate with it.
Children need the ability to move. The expectation in some classrooms is to sit there and be still and be quiet. That doesn't work for most humans.
Especially boys.
That's where I was going. Especially boys. And so what has to be in place is the ability to move and learn, experiential learning, to actually do the thing, to learn the thing. And so that means outdoors.
Yes.
That means not in a traditional environment. And so that is the creation that needs to be there. That's the access. That's the opportunity that needs to be there. So when I think of what we get to create, it's that. And how do we partner with AI and all the technology to create that? How do we build more spaces where all children are able to create the robot, build the robot, break it down, destroy it,
Tear it up.
and rebuild it, right? All of the things. Like we've always, like you talked about in previous generations, how the family and grandmothers, everybody knew what everybody's strength was. I think we had that person in our family that we knew was going to break the VCR or break the TV.
That was
and we would have to wait.
I got one.
And then we'll have to wait a week for them to figure it out. But then we'll get it back. You know what I mean? Like
New and improved.
Yes, like allowing that to happen, or give them a radio and let them break and tear that up and rebuild that. Like that really being an asset, as opposed to a detriment.
Dr. Brown.
Yes.
How does nutrition impact education?
That's a big one. It is one that we don't think about. It's a by the way kind of thing. I hate him, but if you get with those Maslow's hierarchy of needs versus safety, but you can't reach me if I'm hungry. And so this idea of not paying attention to nutrition, or not paying attention to what we're feeding kids, and not educating families on what is important for kids to eat, I think is something that needs to move to the forefront. Breakfast is important. I hate breakfast, but it's important. Kids need to eat it. And we put breakfast before the day starts, and then the kitchen closes, and then we send the kids to class, and they're sitting there and their stomachs are growling and they're hungry. Why does the kitchen have to close?
Yeah.
Why not just let them, when they get there, if they're hungry, go in there and go get something to eat. Get you something. Or have baskets where we're taking our funds, and you have peanut butter crackers and all the different stuff in the classroom, and baskets in the class, and the kids can come in, and it's cereal sitting right there, and they can eat and just and have that there so that they can have it. One of the biggest fights I ever had with my children's school. I'm an educator. I'm running late. Yeah, I run late. Okay. And I'm trying to drop them off.
No.
And the lady at the door, as I'm letting my kindergartner go in, she's going in. She says, they're not going to be able to have breakfast.
Okay.
And I said, oh, hold on just a minute. I went to my school. I did the announcements, and I drove on 2 wheels back to that school. And I said, why wouldn't she be able to have breakfast? Well, breakfast ends at 7:50, and you were after 7:50. I said, but why? So then finally, after we go round and round, and I'm talking about the nutrition and how her brain. She can't even think.
Yeah, institutionalized.
And so you're an educator. She didn't know, because I don't go in with no badge on or nothing. I said, yes, ma'am, I am. And even at lunch, when you're watching what the kids are eating at lunch, and they're coming in with all the hot chips and all the candy and all that stuff, that was one of the first rules that I had. Oh, I had so many parents get mad at me. I said, no large bags of hot chips. The big ones. I said, you can bring the individual bag, but we're not going to do those large bag of hot chips, because what happens is they only have 30 minutes to eat. And all they do eat the whole bag. And there's no protein in for the brain. And the brain is starving. Yeah. And then when we get to the end of the day, they sitting there and they need, no. you can have, and you have to put it in the day. So you can have them, but we're gonna do small bags. And if you want to buy the big bag, great.
Parse it
Let's
out.
get some, put it in the lunch kit.
Juice in that bag.
No soda.
You're poisoning the kids and
really
expecting them to sit
and
on
understand
a hard
and learn.
chair.
I got called to the carpet for that, y'all.
Not
I had a
moving.
parent, and she was like, "You can't police what I send." I said, "Ma'am, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying." I just it was.
Calm down now.
Yeah, I know. He said, "This is my school." Oh, Lord.
Let's start it. Okay, ladies, listen. This has been great. We probably gonna have to do a part 2 because we are towards the end of our conversation, and there is one question that we end the podcast with, and we'll start with you, Dr. Brown, and we'll come down to Dr. Riddick. And the question is, what does making Black history today mean to you?
It's my job. It's what I'm doing every day. There is no profession that educators do not touch. You got to go through school. And so it's what I'm doing. It's my life mission. It's my passion. It is my why. And they tell us chase that why. I'm chasing it.
Love that. Love that response.
I think it's the recognition that we're creating stories and the opportunity that is there every day to write a story, knowing that those that come after you are going to see and hear about it. And so we are that story every single day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm in a similar vein. Same. I feel like it's honoring the past, being present. All the things that we do right now shape the future. And you have to be engaged in all phases of it in order to create, shape, and make Black history.
Come on.
So I feel like we have to be in all phases all the time.
I love it. I love it.
Right on to the real.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, for your time. Thank you for your time. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends. We appreciate you.
And we're actively looking for sponsors, so just reach out at www.makingblackhistorytoday.com. See y'all in 2 weeks.
Yeah.